Welcome back. Well, look, after the shocking shooting a couple of nights ago, or a couple of days ago in Washington time, in Washington, D.C., two National Guard soldiers gunned down in broad daylight on the streets just yards from the White House. One of them, a 20-year-old girl, Sarah Bertramp, I think her name was, and she has sadly died. We've learned this overnight. Died with her father holding her hands, 20 years old. Well, it emerged after that shooting that the crazy gunman was an Afghani migrant, a man allowed into the country along with lots of other Afghanis, like we let them into Britain, because he allegedly collaborated with the CIA and US Special Forces in Afghanistan. So he was let in to America, allowed to live there under Joe Biden's Operation Allies Welcome Scheme. Donald Trump is furious. Let's go over to Washington, D.C., where our old friend, chairman of the Republican Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, is waiting. Hello, Greg.
Great to see you, Kevin.
Yeah, where have you been all my life? I haven't spoken to you for ages. Good to have you on the show. Before we start, let's have a quick look at just a portion of Donald Trump's response to this tragedy.
Blame all Afghans for this one man's not
No, but we've had a lot of problems with Afghans because they had a lot of them coming in on these planes. There was no checking. They just poured into the plane. And many of these people are criminals. Many of these people are people that shouldn't be here.
And he's gone on, Greg, to say that there will now be an official crackdown, that every Afghani will be checked out. As he said, if they're not of any benefit to this country, they'll be out. And he actually wants all foreign migrants now to be vetted because he's furious about what's happened. He's furious with Joe Biden for Operation Allies Welcome, which allowed thousands of Afghanis into the country. As I just said before you came on, we had a similar scheme called the Afghan resettlement scheme. These are Afghanis who claimed to be collaborators, people who helped the Americans and the British during the Afghan war. It's well known that lots of them are just grifters. They did no such thing. We got 70,000 here. But your thoughts on what happened in the city you're in now and Donald Trump's reaction?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the president's reaction is, has a lot of merit to it, right? Because we've known that there was a complete lack of vetting with this program. And then, of course, at the same time, you had the parallel insanity of completely open borders, which the Democrats and Biden did quite deliberately. So, they wanted to have 10 million plus illegal migrants come into the country. And at the same time, this was quite natural for them to have an open door with the Afghan resettlement plan. And that doesn't suggest for a minute that the president or I or anybody else in the party would not want to accommodate people in Afghanistan who helped us during the war. Whether you were for the war or not, we have that responsibility and that obligation. But it was completely unvetted. And of course, the disastrous pullout of Afghanistan, that complete debacle, surely didn't help in terms of having the time to properly vet people. So, yeah, I think, the president's saying all the right things. He'll do the right things. I wish we could say the same for the problem in the UK. I don't anticipate that happening for at least until 2029. So, but I think the problems in both countries are similar.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I mean, we've got around about 35,000 Afghanis in the country who were secreted into the country, into Britain, under what was called the Operation Afghan Resettlement. And we didn't check these people out properly. We've got another 35,000 who are awaiting decisions on their asylum applications, who I guarantee you we won't know much about. Most of them will be allowed to stay. So that's 70,000. Again, these people all arrived in the chaos of that evacuation. So both countries, both of our, I love America, I love Britain, but both, in this instance, both of our stupid countries just opened their borders and said, we don't really care much about you, but if you say you helped us in the war, you just come on in. And we just saw what one of them thought about America. Apparently, there are reports that he was shouting Allah Akbar as he opened fire and shot down those two poor National Guard soldiers, one of whom was Sarah Beckstrom, 20 years old, who died in hospital with her father holding her hand. That is a tragedy that both countries ought to be ashamed of.
It's so sad, and at least in this country, the president has put a stop to open borders and mass migration or mass illegal migration. So good for him. But yeah, the shooting happened only a block from where I am right now at my hotel in D.C. And real tragedy, obviously. And if there's anything that wouldn't inspire, a political leader to step into overdrive, to perhaps even overcorrect because of what happened. I mean, what else could possibly encourage that? And so, and we saw this with Laken Riley, the nursing student killed by an illegal migrant at the University of Georgia in the middle of the day, going for a run in the afternoon. This is the kind of stuff that, that the person who killed Laken Riley was an illegal migrant, but also had been arrested in a sanctuary city in New York. So, of course, he was released and not prosecuted. And then he probably had government bus fare to travel down to another sanctuary city in Athens, Georgia. So, look, these things, they happen. I'm not suggesting, we should deport every Afghan immigrant, but we should surely vet every Afghan.
Yeah, exactly right, Greg. Same here. Exactly right. It's not asking too much, is it? If you're going to, same for Britain, same for America, if you're going to allow foreigners to live here possibly for the rest of their lives, it's not unreasonable to suggest that we should know something about them, particularly if they're coming from a country like Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the country that is supplying this country probably with more migrants than anywhere else, and it's the country we should be the most careful about. Same for the States. I mean, one of Trump's, he posted this on Truth Social the other day. He said he's going to end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens. We have as you will know, Greg, we have a massive welfare bill. Currently stands at about £320 billion a year. It's going to go up to £420 billion a year. Absolutely massive. A considerable amount of that goes to migrants. People come here, don't work, we start giving them benefits. So Trump saying, if you're a foreigner, you don't get our welfare, not a bad idea.
I think it's fair enough. Look, I mean, there should be a safety net, but a safety net isn't a massive welfare state. And of course, in the U.S., it's not nearly as bad as the U.K. and the rest of Western Europe. But I do think it's completely unfair to the people who live in this country who actually need the benefits, having that kind of safety net. So now you're making it a great incentive to migrate to this country, legally or not, because you'll be on benefits. This guy who was getting the electric chair, I don't see that there's any other outcome here because it's now a federal crime. He killed a U.S. service member. So my guess is his wife and 5 children at age 29 will be on benefits. And I think the president's right is to put just a common sense revolution here.
Yeah, his name is Ramanullah Lakamwal, and 29, as you say, and came in 2021, September, as part of that evacuation. And so many like him came in as well. So that is food for thought, to say the least. Can I ask you a sort of off-piste question? You probably won't be able to answer, but I'm fascinated by this. We got the pictures of him after, he shot these 2 poor guardsmen. The other one, by the way, is very critical. It's touch and go whether he will survive, so it could be a double murder. He's severely injured because, of course, the National Guard returned fire, but he's still hanging on in there. Now, we got pictures of him being put into the ambulance. And let me tell you, he's been enjoying American food while he's been living in the States. He's not wasting away. But you got any idea why he was stark naked?
So I don't, I don't have any, direct information, Kevin, but my guess is either he was rather casually dressed, as an understatement. I said the guy who robbed my next door neighbor in Chicago, was caught on security cam with no shirt, 3 in the morning, no shirt. By the way, 18 prior felony convictions and out of
yeah, that goes without saying. Yeah.
Thank you, George Soros. But I do think that there is a chance that they stripped him because you want
to check for weapons. That was my feeling, to just make sure there's no more guns on him. I assume that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just a kind of very strange picture. Greg, great to catch up with you again. Thank you so much for your time. Let's talk again soon.